I'd like to give all glory and praise and honor unto the Most High. And we're going to start in 2 Thessalonians chapter 3, 14 through 15. And it said, if any man obey not our word by this epistle, note that man, and have no company with him, that he may be ashamed. Yet count him not as enemy, but admonish him as brother. So what Paul is basically saying right here, back then, people that, were going against the word of the Most High, people that were liars, people that was corrupt, people that was, spreading false doctrine. He said to note that man, identify that person, whoever it is, male, female, and stay away from them. Have no company with them, that they may be ashamed. That they may change their ways. You know what I mean? So basically that person would be like, damn, nobody wants nothing to do with me. So I need to stop what I'm doing, and get back in line. So basically, you see, this is basically a tactic that they use in this modern day time. Against the target individuals, but you can see that order is flipped. So basically, if you're a liar, if you're corrupt, if you're a thief, if you're doing all manner of wickedness, you're accepted. But if you're not involved in all manner of wickedness, if you're not involved in corruption, things like that, they're gonna identify you and tell people to stay away from you. You know what I'm saying? This is what they did to a lot of the target individuals, man. That you may be ashamed and you're thinking like, man, nobody wants nothing to do with me. Maybe I need to fall in line with these guys, but look, they still not gonna accept you, they still not gonna accept you when you get into those groups, man. Basically what they want is basically their whole thing is to have control over you. They want control over you, and when you go into these groups, you're just gonna have a bunch of people lying to you, telling you to do this, telling you to do that. And it's all just to, have more control over you. That's all they want, Why? Because you were always outside of these groups, and you pose a threat to people that's doing all manner of wickedness. Why? Because the truth is a strong foundation, man. Lies are not. The truth is a strong foundation, and the Most High hates liars. So, what I want to get into, I want to kind of continue on the topic that I was talking about on my last video about how you had certain people that came over, certain melanated people that came over with the Europeans, and they were in league with them. So basically, I wanna continue on that. So the group of people that came over here with the Europeans, Chief Warhorse identified them as Moors, or I should say the Caucasians. So basically, these guys were already criminals. I believe they were already criminals, and they got kicked out of where they were from, and they were coming over here to find new land. You know what I'm saying? And it got me to thinking, this whole community watch, this whole gangstalking thing, it's many layers to it, and one of them is it's also tied into the indigenous people of this land, and other lands too, not rising back up and taking the land. Why? Because they know that this land is not theirs, and they know that they have to implement some type of system to where, look, we have to find a way to control these guys in case an uprising starts, because this is not our land, you know what I'm saying? So this is where, these Masonic groups came in, They came in and they were in league with them, and they hid a lot of information. That's why on one hand, you got brothers spreading a lot of information telling you like, yo, you the native, this, that, and that, and the third, you're not from Africa. On the other hand, you got a group of niggas that they just don't care. And why don't they care? Why? Because this was their reward. You know what I'm saying? This was their reward. This is their heaven. You know what I'm saying? Their job was to come in, destroy the natives, run the natives out, and make sure that no uprising starts. And indoctrinate you with Masonic education, so you won't never figure out what's going on. Because like I said, this whole gang stalking thing too is also tied into the indigenous people of this land not rising back up. And who do you have running these neighborhoods? These neighborhoods, it goes back for. It's a bloodline thing that goes back, and it goes back to the people that these niggas that already sold out back then. That bloodline continues. This is why, like, if you was already outside of these groups, it's like a shock to you. You know what I'm saying? it's like a shock. If you were outside these groups, it's like a shock to you. But then you realize that, you start to realize like, damn, all these guys already knew this, man. I mean, how is it that I was always outside of, outside of these realms? I mean, why? Because you were in the deception, man. You mean that means your bloodline probably didn't sell out. You mean, because you knew nothing about this stuff. Your bloodline probably didn't sell out. And you mean, when you started to figure it out, you mean, or figure it out when you started waking up, hey, that's when they came after you. You mean, and they tell people, hey, hey, stay away from this guy, stay away from this girl. You know what I mean? That so they basically, what they're trying to do, they try to shame you, into joining their groups. I mean, so you thinking like, oh man, something's wrong with me. Nah, nothing's wrong with you, man. Keep going, because you're of a different nature. You're of a different makeup. And like I said, they're not gonna accept you anyway. You mean? They're only gonna do is try to control you and try to corrupt you. I mean, that's what they're trying to do out here, man. So like I was saying before, this is their heaven, man. I mean, these people that's ruling right now, that's over your neighborhoods. I mean, this was their heaven. This was the reward. I mean, the reward was to come in and destroy the natives. And like I was saying, when you look at the neighborhoods, man, look at your neighborhoods. And I was saying, why is there no neighborhood where you could go to be like, yo, I mean, it's pretty nice out here. I mean, not gonna understand like, this neighborhood is bad, that neighborhood. But why is it, predominantly like all our neighborhoods are jacked up? Who's ruling over these neighborhoods? You know what I mean? And to be honest, it's a mindset thing, because our neighborhoods could look just as good as the neighborhoods in Beverly Hills. But why is it that, the neighborhoods are always run down? Because you had certain niggas, that was their job to come in and do that. Their job was to come in and keep it a certain way. You know what I mean? And they're inside of these groups, and they're still playing second fiddle. They still playing second fiddle. They're inside of these these Masonic groups, and this was their job, man. For example, when you look at somebody like Zach TV was the the guy that was reporting on the Kanika Jenkins story and stuff like that. Everybody was so deeply moved by that Kanika Jenkins story. And Zach TV, he was doing the righteous work, trying to figure out this, that, and third. And he kept trying to get to the bottom of the story, because like he was really, moved by the story. Who do you think killed him? You know what I mean? The group of niggas that's in league with the Europeans, man. You know what I'm saying? And other brothers, that was activists, that was genuinely doing the work deeply in their heart. I mean, they were killed, by these people out here. Why? Like I said, once again, you got a group of niggas, they generally don't care, and they always been in league with them, doing all manner of wickedness. You know what I'm saying? And you gotta start opening your eyes and looking at it from a deeper aspect. You know what I mean? This is why, anytime these movements start, like I said, you're gonna have a bunch of niggas that's pissed off. Why? Because this is their reward. They're already in heaven. I mean, they got the land. You know what I mean? They not. This wasn't their land either. And they supplied them with the weaponry. I mean, with the technology, to destroy the natives. You know what I'm saying? They had the guns. They had this and that and third. Just look at what's going on today. I mean, who's supplying these guys with all these cars? I mean, with the technology to track you, the technology to follow you around. Who paying these guys? I mean, pockets of money here and there. These niggas are being supplied by somebody else. It's not them. They're not getting this stuff on their own. And you're gonna have pockets of them, in the neighborhoods. I mean, they're living well off. You know what I'm saying? And they're not gonna be living like everybody else. I mean, why? Because their job is just to sit back, collect that cash, monitor everybody else, make sure that the indigenous never find out, never assemble. Because that was your job, man. That was your job. And like I said, like, you all thought that at one point, you know, when you start speaking up and things like that, you know, you think you'll have these people on your side, but no, they not down with you, because this was their reward, man. You know what I'm saying? This was their reward. This is why they don't care, because they already knew about these these gang stalking, these targeting, and all this stuff. While you didn't know all these years, they were taking people out, they were eliminating people, man. You know what I'm saying? You know, and then now, you know, since the truth is in your heart, since you're just and upright, you know, it eventually found its way to you. But they already knew this stuff, man. You know, this is why they can all come together and target you. You know what I mean? And shame you. You know what I mean? And do this, that, and the third to you. Why? Because you always been outside. They always knew. They always knew. And like I said, their whole thing was to take the natives off the land. You know what I mean? Anybody that's doing anything just and upright. You know what I mean? Their goal was to identify them, man. You know? And keep that person away. Because they all, like I said, this is their reward, man. This is why they get so mad. I mean, and like you said, sometimes you may not understand. Like, damn, why do you niggas so mad? Like, I mean, and you start to see it. Like, okay, I understand now why. Because they was already in league with them. You know, for generations, for years. You mean their bloodlines, their family bloodlines. They all been in these Masonic frats, and they knew about it. I mean. But like I said, they still playing second fiddle, man. I mean, they're like the direct line of defense, man. I mean, between you rising up, right? You know, so this is one of the reasons that, you know, they get everybody to shame you. I mean, everybody's in league and everybody's on code with it. I mean, why? Because the entire neighborhoods, man. I mean. You know, they made sure they put people in there, even in your neighborhood, even on your floors. I mean, that's in league with this stuff, man. You know what I'm saying? And I'm talking about, I mean, this community watch list thing also being connected to the indigenous people not getting their land back. You know what I mean? Who's running the neighborhoods, man? Who's over the neighborhoods? Look at the state of their neighborhoods. Look at the trash. Look at the violence. I mean, look at it was a lot of tribal conflict, a lot of tribal wars. This was them running, you mean, killing off a lot of the natives, man. I mean, but at one point you thought that these people were, you know, your kin, you know. But they had a whole different game plan. I mean, this is why they get mad. And with that being said, I give all praise and honor unto the Most High, and hopefully this was edifying, man.